So I'm joined here with Ahmed, who is an incredibly talented barber, owner of ChopBox in the iconic Wapping Wharf.
Yeah.
He is an incredible barber, as I mentioned, but he's also an incredibly astute businessman, and he has a very interesting story. So, for those of you out there that don't know him, this is Ahmed.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your story, how you got into barbering, and also the journey to start the business?
Yeah, it's been a long journey to get where I am. I came here quite young, when I was 14, from a different country. Not in Bristol, up north, Blackburn. Very different to where I was before. Stayed with my uncle until I was 18. Went to India for 9 months, travelled quite a lot. All I did was just travel around India. I came back to Leicester, stayed there for 7 years, and when I came back to Leicester, it was pretty much one job after another, mostly management jobs. None of them which I could really enjoy, and I wanted to do something different. And I came across barbering, and since day one, I was in love with barbering, and even till today, I'm as passionate as I was when I started.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I ended up working at Wapping Wharf. Was there for a year, and I ended up buying it from the guy who I used to work for.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and now I have my own business. Yeah.
It's quite a
Yeah.
good community hub
Yeah.
in Wapping Wharf,
Yeah.
and all of the businesses are quite tight.
Yeah.
And you've certainly got your footprint in the area,
Yeah.
and everyone knows you. Everyone I talk to
Yeah.
knows you, and
Okay.
it's quite an interesting dynamic. It's a really good community.
Yeah.
And with your particular style of hairdressing,
Yeah.
what interested you in getting that job in the first place?
Yeah.
And then how did you build your skills? How long did you suck at it before you
Yeah.
got good?
Yeah. So I started quite late with this. Everyone in my college was mostly young. I'm not saying that they were not as hungry as I was,
Yeah.
but I had a lot more to lose. I had a really good salary, that I had really good money coming in, and I let go of that. I literally quit my job, and I went in. It was not the most wisest decision I've ever made. Like, looking back, like, I should have took my time and not quit my job, because it was a struggle for a year. So it took at least a year and a bit more to learn the job properly. But I did do it a lot more quicker than I would say most people, because I really wanted to get as good as I can.
Yeah.
But it's just natural that it takes long to learn every different skills. But the biggest reason was people. I like meeting different people.
Yeah.
I always liked the idea of doing something that makes people happy. So when I went to learn how to drive, when my driving instructor was teaching me how to drive, I said to myself, maybe I should become a driver, because he must be making a lot of people happy. And when I passed my test, I was like, oh, he's the best, you know. And I thought, what if I do a job where people would tell me that?
Yeah.
Well, 10, 15 times a day.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
But I have to be really good at it for me to be. So something that, you know, I get that satisfaction of, you know, making people happy, meeting people, and you can learn a lot from people if you ask the right questions. And this is the perfect place to be, where you know, and life is about self-development and how to get better in life. So I found that early on that it's a perfect place that I could do that. Yeah, and that was one of the big reasons as well. and just making people look good, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rewarding.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rewarding. Yeah.
So you probably had a bit of an advantage because
Yeah.
you could apply yourself. You're a bit older. You had a little bit more
Yeah.
experiencing the world and other careers before you came into
Yeah.
it, which probably made it easier to be disciplined in it than if you were fresh out of school or
Yeah, true.
whatever else. But you were then thrust into the business world, and
Yeah.
that is it's a wild, wild west a lot of the
Yeah.
time. You know, hiring people,
Yeah.
managing people, also performance reviewing them,
Yeah.
and then also having to lay people off.
Yeah.
And you've gone from basically just having a passion and a job that you want to quite a successful business owner.
Yeah.
What have you learned along the way that you think are the key things that have, you know, you won't make those mistakes again because you've overcome them? What were some of the challenges really?
So since I was 19, I did manage pretty much businesses, but it was mostly, if not all of them, were franchises. Like
Yeah.
it would be, I was a manager for Subway, Burger King. I was an assistant manager at Lidl for a very short time. Debenhams, I was in there. So I did different jobs. I did meet different people, different age groups I had to manage. So I did have an advantage of that. I understood people. So when it came to the actual job, it was easier to talk to people.
Yeah.
Maybe if somebody's young, they won't be able to talk to someone who's a lot older, and it'll just be cutting hair, and it'll be a quick haircut where I could actually have a really good conversation. Yeah. And then business side of thing just happened out of nowhere. I was just very lucky that I was in the right place to buy the business. It was definitely hard because this barbering is very different to following a checklist I had to do before.
Yeah.
Even though I was a manager, there was an area manager, there was somebody who was supporting me.
Yeah.
If I was stuck, I could call another branch manager and be like, what do I do? And because none of them were independent businesses, we could just follow, could even Google it, it'll be okay. But here it was just all self-employed barbers. Can't really manage them. They all pay their own taxes. They can just move on anytime they want. So it was very difficult to find the right people. And even if you do, they can go traveling. They can go to another shop. And one of the biggest reasons why barbers get into this line of work, so they can travel. Yeah. So they don't want to stick around, which is a really hard thing to do as a business owner in barbershop world. It's difficult to find the right people who want to stick around. And my business is also in a good location. Yeah. Customer reviews, relationships matter a lot. Yeah. It's not just quick in and out. It's all appointments only. So you want the same people to be working next to you. It doesn't look very good when there's too many different barbers in there. So that was a big challenge. I would say still is. It's not an easy thing to do. Yeah, to hire. Yeah.
So your business thrives a lot on reputation and word of mouth. And if you don't do a good job, then obviously people are going to find out about that. Yeah. So do you think that was your natural temperament, your personality to work with people? Do you have to be a certain sort of person to be a barber? Or can you get by if you're just really good at it, but you maybe don't have those soft social skills?
It's really hard to tell. I wouldn't know like how every barber does it. There has to be at least some balance. You can't just be very good at what you do and then just not talk to your clients. My style is very much 100% on both sides. I want to do as good as the job I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do, but also good customer service, and also build some sort of a relationship where, you know, men can come and talk about anything,
Mm-hmm.
problems, good stuff, you know.
Mm.
And I think that's important to me, like a safe space for anyone to come in, you know, where I'm not sure how every other barber does it. Everyone's got their own style, but for me it works. It works really well. So, and yeah.
What I've noticed from you in
Yeah.
particular is that no matter how long or short you're in there
Yeah.
for, you make people feel important.
Yeah.
I've also been in there whilst you've been cutting other people's hair, and you show genuine interest and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
You're really good at picking up the conversation when they, go lull.
Yeah.
Is that a skill that you got better at over time, or did you sort of already have that when you went into the profession?
Well, when I was young, someone I know told me that I should either be selling cars or do something like this, customer service. Maybe barbering would be, but of course it's not that simple that you just become a barber. You have to know the skill itself. I do have that naturally. I always had that, even from when I was in my school. I was probably the one who was making conversations, and I do like that about this job, that I can do that, and people do appreciate that. It's one of the biggest reasons I suppose people do to come back as well. So
it's good. It's a good community.
Thank you.
And it's one of those things, especially in the men's space, the male space, that you've got the pub with your mates, but there's not a lot of community connection for men for the most part. And I think sometimes your local barber that you go to becomes a bit of a therapist in some ways, because you just naturally start unpacking and things. So there's a great variety of skill set that you have to have in order to be a barber. So if someone was starting out and they wanted to do it and they thought that they had the temperament to get into it, what would you advise them do? What schools can they go to?
They can go to any school, I suppose. But you have to have the experience in the barbershop itself. Without being in the shop, you would not be able to really learn everything there is to learn. You can go to the school and learn the basics, but there's so many things that can go wrong in a barbershop from day to day, from one haircut to another. Pretty much. If I never really had a day off. Like I had a mindset of 100% only, even till today. I just would not, even though now it's just everything is natural to me. I've been working in the same place for so long that I don't need to do. I'll just be all natural. But I still say that to myself. So it takes you have to learn quite a lot. So I would say you have to work in a barbershop for at least a year or two after you've done your school to be able to fully understand
So it's a repetition thing to build your skill over time. So if you want to get started in anything, I suppose, and you have to get so much repetition in, but you don't have the skills yet, and you have to cut somebody's hair, and you're doing a bad job, how do you get through that? How do you push through that? And how do you tell yourself, well, I'm going to make mistakes, and I've just got to stick to it?
It's actually quite difficult with barbering. It's very difficult. If you're a chef and you make a mistake as a new, somebody else can quickly help you out.
True.
And the dish will just go out. No one will know what happened, and they can have a conversation with the new trainee. Oh, you made a mistake, where everything here is in front of somebody. So you can't. You have to be really, really confident. Like I think 80% of the barbers don't make it after they've learned everything.
That's a huge drop off.
Yeah. And then even if they're not aware that they're not good, but they're just confident, they're just not going to get the clients back anyway. so they don't build any business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is difficult. It's right, and men usually don't have a lot of things they do other than a haircut. Really,
Yeah.
what else
Yeah.
would you go out and
Mm.
get done? You know, your
Yeah.
hair. So everything
Especially
is
with other men. As
yeah.
well.
So it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can, yeah, you have to be really confident, or you have to. Some barbers, I can probably speak for myself. When I was learning, I had to be very good at. You have to communicate a lot more, I think, in the beginning.
Yeah. Right.
And then find out what the customer really wants, because in the beginning you don't really know how I'm gonna get there. So if you make your customer feel like he's been heard, and I think that helps quite a lot. And then you obviously get a lot more information as well, so it helps you even if you're not sure what to do. And that would be quite unique thing to do in the beginning. Yeah.
So how do you then? You've got resilience, well, at least
Yeah.
you're working on resilience.
Yeah.
You're working on repetition, so
Yeah.
you're building up your basic skills. How do you go to the next level? Do you watch YouTube videos? Is that what?
I think
the progression?
Yeah, I think you have to just constantly be willing to learn all the time. Even now, I do it. Like, you have to. You can never think that you know everything, especially with hair, because it just keeps changing all the time. Styles keep changing. You're going to get people from all different like countries, cultures coming in, and you have to be able to understand what the trends are. So that just never stops, really. Yeah, and I think the customers see that as well. How knowledgeable the barber is. So you have to always look at YouTube, whatever it is that you've got to do. And just constantly keep practicing what you do. And try different techniques as well. So you don't just and working in different barbershops is quite important as well early on. So if you work for different Italian barbers, or and then you can work for like if you get a chance to work even next to a hairdresser, it's quite good. It's a completely different environment, and then you can learn how to be better at cutting long hair, things like that. So yeah.
A question I've always wanted to know is, why does it cost sometimes 10 times, 20 times the price to cut women's hair than it does to cut men's hair?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess it's long hair, it takes longer.
10 times longer?
I don't know. Yeah. I do get that a lot. People do ask this question a lot. I have a lot of women who come in for short hair. And when they want to get their hair done, even if it's short, it is the same amount of money. Yeah. So I obviously charge them the normal price. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The deal is.
Bit of a scam, do you think? Like, we're all women products, the markups a bit ridiculous.
I don't want to start.
No.
Any problems?
Hairdresser wars.
I guess it is hard work, right? Like, it is a lot of different techniques, and takes. Yeah. I'm not sure if I can do 4 hours of
cutting hair
for one haircut. Person. That'll be a very long conversation. Yeah.
So that's another thing. You're on your feet a lot.
Yeah.
And also you're moving constantly. Yeah. And I suppose from other jobs that I've had, whenever I'm not engaged or enjoying the job, you feel everything. You're like, I'm on my feet for so long. Whereas when you have a good flowing conversation, you don't feel it as much. Yeah. What do you do to try and like safeguard yourself from having a bad day?
Like physically, you mean, or just
physically, mentally, all of it.
So mentally, I've been very lucky. I don't know when the switch happened to me. Maybe probably even day one I started working in a barber shop, I just have this thing where I go in, I forget everything. And that's probably the reason why I'm successful. I haven't had any gaps in my diary for the last couple of years. I'm on my feet all day. I'm not had a. I have my break for an hour.
Yeah.
And then I'll be on for 7.5 hours straight. I look after myself. I do go to the gym. I stretch. It's very simple. Drink plenty of water. I have one of those stretchy band things. Just in the barbershop, in between haircuts, I'll do that. Just keep yourself fit, I suppose. You have to make sure that you can have a good posture, and then just look after yourself.
Right. So you also play sport.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of traveling, you do a lot of social things, you've got an incredibly full life. How much does having your own business facilitate that? And how much do you think it would be different if you didn't have your own business?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, always work life, it was very important that I'm happy at my work. So as soon as I found barbering, that was one. I was just very content the fact that I found something I like, and then the money starts coming in, and then you actually you become successful. And that gave me everything I have. I do have everything because of barbering. I travel. I'm financially like in a much better place, and it's all because of barbering. I think I dedicate pretty much everything to barbering.
So one thing that I often will say to especially young men is when you're working for somebody else, when you're young, that's good. You're learning skills for your time. It's not just that you're earning money, you're learning skills that you would not be able to find on your own. It's like if you go straight out of school and you start a business, the amount that you're going to the mistakes that you're going to have to make are huge. And that's fine if you've got that temperament for it and you've already built resilience and perseverance in your life. But if you don't, going and working for a company is going to teach you just so many things, from admin to the way that businesses work and flow. And also, even better than that would to find a smaller business that there is more opportunity for mentorship. But there comes a point where now you're letting fear or whatever it might be stop you from starting your own thing. And in a sense, you are selling your own worth and your own potential future scalability and income for the safety of staying within something else. And I think in some ways it becomes the golden handcuffs because you're getting that security, that money coming in. But for someone like you, who has taken on all the risk and then seen what reward is on the other side of that, what would you say to somebody that was in a similar position to you and had an opportunity to buy a business or step up to that next level? What advice would you give them, or is there any caution that you would give them around that?
There is a risk, of course, if you're safe in what you've got at the moment. It is risky to go into something where there's a lot to lose if you have to do it all by yourself. But the satisfaction you get, I don't think there is anything else. Working for yourself, being your own boss, you can have your own. You can choose your own work-life balance. And all the time, as you said, you put into your craft, your work is just for you. I would always choose less money over that sort of working for somebody. And if you put all your passion and effort into your own business, you can even make more money than you were making before. Because why not? You're doing it for yourself.
also with business, in some ways, business and self-development go hand in hand. Not always, but for the most part, you have to have some level of introspection. I need to work on myself.
Yeah.
Because you're the only thing that you can change.
Yeah.
To interact with everything.
Yeah.
Whereas working for a company, you don't have to change for the most part.
Yeah.
You can just get by. It's very hard for companies to fire people a lot of the time, and people get cushy in their jobs and whatever else. And something I'm always going on about is this Peter principle. Have you heard of that?
No.
Yeah, so it's the idea that you get promoted to the place of your incompetence. So you might start off as a really good mechanic, and then you become the storeman or the head mechanic, and then you do a really good job at that. And then you keep getting promoted until you're not so good at that position anymore, and then you stay there. But you're in a position that you're not very good at.
And never wanted to be there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think in some ways, starting your own business sometimes can be like that. Some people will start businesses and they're not suited for that. And I totally understand that. It's not viable for everybody to start their own business because they don't have the skills. But because the reward is so great, and not just financially, it's, as you were saying, the freedom, the control, the choice. It would be a shame not to try, not to go to the potential of whatever it is you can go to.
Yeah.
So I suppose one question around that is, how much has self-development, whether it be going to the gym or psychological stuff or learning or reading books, how much has that helped you throughout your business and personal journey? Yeah.
So when I was working, the last job when I was working for someone, I did push myself quite a lot into reading books, self-development, mind, body. And I do believe that because of that reason, I ended up buying the shop, because I didn't see those signs before where I had the opportunity to do it. And I did miss out on quite a lot of that before because I just couldn't see it. So I meditate every day. I'm quite big into mental health, self-development, things like that. I've always been, but that was the time where I was pushing myself quite a lot, and it was just that one moment where I realized, hold on, there's an opportunity here, and that changed everything. I made an offer and we ended up buying the shop. So I think you have to be sharp, and you have to develop skills where you can see these opportunities. Because and having your own business then also gives you that freedom then to keep going as well. And you can take it to next level, and then the next, because it's all in your hands, really. It's very, very important. And when you do work for someone, you don't really have the time, I think, because you have been told you got to do these many tasks. It's been so long that I actually forgotten what it's like, but
true.
Trying to remember. It was not great.
Something interesting that you're saying there is that it was the things that you did towards self-development that put you in the sharp frame of mind that you could capitalize on a opportunity that came your way. But some people also think, well, I'll do all of those things. I'll do the mental health stuff. I'll do the cold plunges, the meditation, the cold shower, the journaling, the reading, whatever it might be, once I've got the time. But it's that very thing that's going to put you in the right frame of mind to progress. So what are some of the things that have really helped you develop?
Like you said, journaling, meditation, a routine. Sticking to a routine day in, day out. Because if you're having a bad day, if you have a routine, you can always go back to that the next day. I do all of that stuff, cold showers, but I do enjoy it. I'm not doing it because I read it somewhere I have to do it. I went on this journey all by myself. I
Yeah.
just started doing things, and then later on, when I did look at all the podcasts on self development and mental health, I was already doing that. That made me
Yeah.
really happy that
Yeah.
I did it by myself. So I think everyone should just do what they think they're comfortable with
Yeah.
to start with,
Yeah.
and then results will come in whatever you're trying to achieve. It's not
True,
just
yeah.
work, relationships or friendship, anything that you want to do. Just be in a good place in your life as well. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a saying around money
Yeah.
where money isn't everything, but not having money is everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, until you are in a place where you're financially secure, you don't realize how much stress you carry day to day not being financially secure. But I think the same can also be said for self-development.
Yeah.
It's not that you're all of a sudden going to become a top 1%er on the planet, but not doing it, not doing anything for yourself, not sharpening that saw, you're going to always be one step behind. You're always going to be playing catch up. You're never going to be prepared for when the opportunities do come about. One massive thing that I think we've lost is community.
Yeah.
And it's not that nobody has community or that everybody necessarily needs this idealistic level of community, but it is certainly, from the people that I have talked to, that is missing. And part of that is modern day society. It's all become hyper individualized. Like, you even think of shopping center, you don't even talk to a human being to scan your items. You self-service. It's only going to get more and more streamlined, which is obviously really good. But we are losing skills, I'm sure of it. Like having food delivery services, you don't need to go out and interact with human beings to get food. And a lot of this can become a mental prison for people. And I think especially young men are struggling with this. We don't have a lot of accessible mentors in society. And that's why I think your barbershop is such an integral part of the community, because you do have a lot to do with a lot of young men and a lot of people that are aspiring to do something with their lives. And I think you're an incredible example of what happens when you put yourself in a good frame of mind and excel and take the opportunities and take the risk, because you know you can deal with it. But one thing I think is that in life you will always be met with failure. Nobody can be 100% failure proof. Have you had big setbacks in your life, and how do you keep going?
Definitely had plenty of setbacks, like personal life, work life as well. In the past, there's times where I could have got a promotion or something I didn't get. I've lost my parents. I had to deal with that, and it wasn't easy. That's a huge thing. I don't have any siblings either, so I had to deal with all that by myself. But these are obviously quite big things that can happen to you in life. But even day to day, even with having everything, money or a good state of mind, you're still going to feel a certain way. You're still going to feel down. You're still going to have setbacks. You just have to be really ready for it and understand that this is life. This is just how it works. And going back to what you said earlier about we're not talking to each other anymore. We rarely say hello to anyone in the street or I don't understand that. People do talk about this in the barbershop. Young men, they are actually aware of this, but no one knows what to do. I don't think anyone knows what will happen from here on. How did we get to this point? But barbershops have always been, and there will be places where you could go and talk, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, we have to all deal with it as good as we can. Just understand that this is life, and we have to be strong and accept failure and just keep learning from it.
Yeah.
And keep getting stay positive, and
Yeah.
and have a process to live your life that will have discipline. Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you. So, even when people do have community, a lot of the time they have the wrong community.
Yeah.
They're with people that don't have the same visions and goals as them, and they're deeply unhappy. And it's sort of like something that pulls them back into old habits that they're trying to get away from.
Yeah.
And not saying that, you know, people that don't aspire to do great things, that's wrong. Everybody's got their lot in life in a sense. Everybody's got different goals and different places where they're happy, and you only get one life, as far as we know, and you should be able to pursue whatever is you. But at the same time, and on the same token, you can't be happy if you're surrounded by people that make you feel isolated in the crowd.
Yeah.
And I think what's good about your barbershop is you do meet a lot of people that are, and so you do have a lot of that community yourself. But what I'm getting from what you're saying is, if you're a young man and you're just going to any old the cheapest haircut you possibly can, invest in yourself, find a barber, because that is a role model right there, someone that has access to a huge network of other men, that is your first point of call. I think it really is somewhere where you can start to make those connections in the community. But if you were a young man again, where do you think you would first look to find like-minded people?
Yeah, it's a tough question.
Yeah, it is.
Fun. Yeah. I suppose similar interests, and it's really important to have a mentor in your life. But it is tough. Yeah, I think it's hard. It's very hard at the moment. Like talking about the barbershop, people do come in and they get to know each other, but just by going in and out, and like if they talk to each other, all of a sudden they have a connection. There's people that found jobs through my barbershops and things like that.
Oh, really?
Where someone's like, I'm looking for a job, and someone else is looking for an employer. I'm like, hey, I know somebody. And things like that. I don't think I can think of many places, where you can go and if there is like youth centers where people, like I suppose young men can go and but I don't know how much is that going on at the moment.
I think from my own personal experience, the places I've made the most connections have been just incidentally through the community. But then you meet someone and they introduce you to someone and they introduce you to somebody, and it's just like collecting
information,
connections. Also gyms, I think not gym by itself, because that's quite isolating. You don't necessarily want to talk to everybody in a gym when you're working out, but like mixed martial arts, things like that. That's a really quick way for men to make friends, because you have to sort of trust somebody that they're not going to hit you too hard, or that
I do a bit of kickboxing, and I do go to martial art gyms, and I agree. I think that's a good place. People, I think a lot of people have this misconception of what a martial arts gym is like, beating each other up. It's actually super friendly. People talk to you, and you do make good connections there. That is a really good one, actually.
Shout out to Sweatbox.
Definitely.
So there's two things I want to get to. One of them is on a bit of a lighter side, what is it to enjoy life? What is it to, like, what is travel? What does that, like, if you just go and you look at somewhere it can be, in some ways, I know a lot of men, especially men that are quite high performing, they'll go and experience a holiday and they'll just be so bored and hate it.
Yeah.
Whereas I think you in particular really know how to live in the moment.
Yeah.
And you know, have you always been like that? Is that something you've learned to do, or is it a symptom of being financially secure, being, you know, having a vision and a direction in life?
So when I was doing a lot of journaling, reading, and just meditating, I was going through this journey where in the end it just became about one thing, that is living in the moment.
Yeah.
If you, no matter what if you dealt with your past, you have an idea what you're going to do in the future.
Yeah.
You cannot keep thinking about that anymore. You have to live in the moment, because time's going, you know.
Yeah.
we're all going to get old and die eventually. So all this experience we want to do, we can't just keep thinking about the next one. We have to live in the moment. But the book that I read, The Power of Now, which was very helpful. One of my clients, he recommended it.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for my client, I wouldn't have known about that book, which helped me quite a lot. So living in the moment. When you travel, it's all about meeting different people again, cultures, just learning about life and how. And it also makes you appreciate, when you go to certain countries, how privileged and lucky we are to have things which some people don't. Or you can go to places where we can learn how good they have it there, and how we could bring that back into our society and things like that. But in the end, you have to be living in the moment to be able to even experience that fully. You can't just go somewhere and take pictures and come back. You have to fully...
Do you think we've lost a lot of living in the moment because of Instagram culture and everything needs to be put online, and it's not like I'm enjoying it now. I want everyone else to know that I do fun things and cool things. And
yeah, totally. I think very, very few people do live in the moment. Like, I talk to a lot of people and it's very few. My
friend just got back from Bali. He spent 6 weeks there, and he was doing like fitness, you know, yoga, gym, all the rest of it. And he said it was an incredible experience, you know, great food, all the rest of it, beautiful sunsets, you know, lots of stuff to do. But he said there's a culture there. There's a lot of people there where they're not even living. They turn up to the gym and they're filming themselves from the moment they get in to the moment they leave. They're not talking to anybody. They're just, everything is, their whole world is online. And I think, like, surely that can't be healthy for anybody. Like, you need real human interaction, if not for anything else, but to just stay connected with reality and not live in a fantasy.
You're trying to show it off to somebody all the time instead of living it yourself. I think if you start thinking is your life as a movie and just pretend that everything is without not showing it to somebody, you just think of it yourself. So at the end of the day, if you do your end of the day check, like, how did your day go? Did I live in the moment?
That's good.
And when you start doing that, you'll realize that I actually didn't. And if people do that for like 30 days, they'll realize that how far they are from reality. They think they're living in the moment because they put something on social media, or they must have had the best experience, but they weren't in the moment itself. But we don't know that until we actually sit down and talk about it, or somebody tells you. So the only way to do it will be yourself, through meditation, through journaling, just keeping a check of how often you do it. So in the book that I mentioned, it says you can never really stop thinking about your past or future. It just doesn't happen. Your brain will just do that. So you have to become a good watcher of your thoughts. So in the day, if you could do 2 or 3 times that's more than enough. And then it becomes a habit where you see the thought patterns coming into your head and you stop right there. So if you just start doing that,
I don't know who coined it, but there's a saying, and it's probably backed by some level of psychological research, but that if you're always living in the past,
Yeah.
you're depressed.
Yeah.
If you're always living in the future, you are living with anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's only when you step in the now
Yeah.
that those things aren't going to rule your life.
Yeah, we always will have to deal with anxiety. That's what we've been wired to do. Like this is normal.
Yeah.
You have to just learn to be good at dealing with it how best as we can.
Yeah.
Individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get into some pretty wild conversations when you're cutting my hair. From all sorts of conversations, from aliens to secret military things, and we're just having fun. We're just like playing around with it. Are there times where you have conversations with people and they take the conversation into like just wild places?
All the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely, all the time. Some people are just very good at going along with that conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like it's just me.
Yeah.
But they just like to listen, I suppose. But the best part is when, like you do, like when you come in, aliens, you name it. Yeah, it's all up for. Yeah.
So on that point,
Yeah.
and I think this is a real key point of everything I get from you in particular.
Yeah.
Is that you have such like an accepting sort of encouraging persona.
Yeah.
And it's there's so many people, when you tell them anything good about yourself, the first thing out of their mouth is negative.
Yeah.
And especially with like a lot of male friends, you might say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and then the first thing they'll do is tell you, "Well, that's hard to do."
Yeah.
And here's all the problems that you'll run into.
Or you're too much. You are on this.
Yeah. And they're trying to pull you back.
Yeah.
And in some ways, there's good intentions there, because they're like, that's crazy, because they're looking at it from their perspective. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so that's all they're thinking about, and they don't want to see you do it and fail.
Yeah.
But it's that failure that actually makes you get to success.
Yeah.
And I think, a huge thing I've noticed is that there are really two types of people. There are the people that will encourage you no matter what you say, and that's why we can talk about aliens, because we're never like tied to the conversation. You'll say something, I'm like, oh, no, the government is hiding all of these secrets.
No one knows. It's just open mind, and
But that's such a skill. In life, it opens up so many doors, so many opportunities. And to not have that, I think, is a particularly bad male characteristic. I'm sure women do it as well, and they have that, they struggle. But it's something that, because if I'm having a conversation about something, no matter what it is, investing, money, fitness, and someone starts being negative about it, I'll just be, oh, okay, I won't approach that with you anymore. But they don't know that now that I've got this, like, okay. And I think it's really unfortunate. But it's a great skill.
Yeah, a lot of men think that just because you have this conversation means that I believe in something. It's just, you have to, you're going to live once. Why don't you don't know what you're going to learn, and for me, one of the biggest actually thing about, I'm big into like stand-up comedy and things like that. So one of the best things about the barbershop is you can make a lot of jokes. and some of them they do land, most of them don't. And then I could actually use them.
Yeah, true.
What people actually don't realize is I'm getting better at that same joke. Trying out with different people. And making people laugh is actually quite good. Which is just for me that. I'm at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I think I made this person laugh. Usually would be quite serious. Then so
I've often wondered that about comedians, because they're using the same line over and over and over again. They know it's not funny to them anymore, but I wonder how much they still enjoy getting that laughter. And I suppose that's a good question to ask you. Is like, is it the fact that it's
Yeah.
enjoyable to make somebody laugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Again, I used to do that in my school quite a
Mm.
lot, and even my other jobs I did. This is perfect for me
Yeah.
because I can actually practice a few of them over and over again. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and then when it does land, it is pretty satisfying. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what does the future hold?
No, I still like what I do. I'll always be doing barbering.
Yeah.
I might go into studying psychotherapy.
Yeah.
Something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and maybe have sort of a second career.
Yeah.
Again, I'm already doing
Yeah.
a little bit of that
Yeah.
anyway, but it'll be nice to actually be able to help people
Yeah.
because of my own personal loss that I've had with my parents and how
Yeah.
I dealt with it and how to deal with grievance and
Mm-hmm.
think positive. I would love to help people with that.
Yeah.
But I need to go and learn. But in terms of barbering, I would never. I don't see giving up barbering.
Look,
for a
it sounds
long
like the
time.
best job in the world.
It is a really, really good job. People always ask me, so you're looking forward to your weekend, and they think that I'm just saying this because in my shop, and I don't want to sound like I genuinely don't feel
Yeah.
like it's work.
Yeah.
It's the best job I ever had. Yeah.
So even with all of the development and success that you've achieved, I like that you still got goals. You're still
Yeah.
moving towards it. You never feel like, oh, I've done it now.
Yeah.
I'll just rest on my laurels.
Oh, it's gonna keep.
Yeah,
I have to keep
yeah.
going. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
cool. So one more question I'll ask you
Yeah.
is, and take time to think about this, is
Yeah.
what do you think is the most important piece of advice that you could give to a young person,
Yeah.
and maybe specifically yourself? Like, how would you go back
Yeah.
and would you say?
I think at this moment in life, looking back at my own life, what's worked for me, listening to people talk about this on podcasts or I think in the end it just comes down to being good with people. You
Yeah.
have to be able to, no matter how big the deal you're going to make at the most highest level, it will eventually just come down to
Yeah.
being in the room. Recently, what happened in America with Trump and Zelensky having a big argument, it came down to two people in the end.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
so, yeah, just go back to the usual. Go back to talking to people in real life and being friendly and just communicate.
Do you think you would have taken that advice?
I think I've always had that
Yeah.
in me, and it's worked for me. Yeah.
That's
I'm
good.
very happy with how my life has been. So it's very hard for me to give an advice to somebody.
Yeah.
But right now, this is my conclusion that it does come down to people.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have-
100% agree.
Yeah. How you are, if you show kindness, empathy, just be good at helping people, communicating well.
Yeah.
You can get the job that you want. You can get into the profession you want. If you have everything but you're just a shitty person, it's not gonna work.
No.
Yeah.
You're a very humble person as well, so you accept
Yeah.
criticism, and that also comes across when you're giving advice.
Yeah.
Because you're saying what you're basically saying is, well, this works for me,
Yeah.
but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
That's a really good characteristic, and
Yeah.
what makes you quite open.
Yeah.
And I think that's really worked out for you. I think that you are an incredible barber,
Thank you.
but you're also an incredible businessman. You're an incredible people person. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ahmed.
Thank you.